Hey, chosen ones, have you ever noticed how some people seem almost determined to push your buttons, poking, provoking, and waiting to see if you'll crack? It's not always about petty disagreements or random personality clashes. In fact, whether they realize it or not, many people are trying to measure something much deeper, your spiritual rank. Think of it like an unspoken exam, where the questions aren't asked with words, but with actions, sarcasm, and subtle digs. Spiritually speaking, the concept of testing is as old as time. In the Bible, Job's faith was tested by relentless trials. Jesus himself was tested in the wilderness for 40 days. These weren't random challenges, they were divine proving grounds, revealing the depth of one's faith, patience, and resilience. In modern life, these tests often come wrapped in the form of difficult people, critical remarks, or unfair treatment. I remember early in my own walk with God, I had a friend, another chosen one, who had a gift for passive-aggressive remarks. They'd say things like, "Oh, you're too enlightened to get mad now," or "Must be nice living in your little spiritual bubble." At first, it stung. I'd defend myself, get pulled into arguments, and sometimes fire back my own sharp comments. But here's the truth. I was stepping onto a spiritual battlefield with the wrong weapons. The real victory came when I stopped seeing their remarks as personal attacks and started viewing them as reflections of their own insecurities. Instead of reacting from my ego, I learned to respond from a place of peace and compassion. That's when I realized every provocation was a test, and my calmness was my passing grade. Eventually, the jabs stopped. They saw I had leveled up, spiritually armored in a way they couldn't breach. Here's the reality. People test you because your presence disrupts their comfort zone. Your growth exposes their stagnation, and they want to see if your light is real or just a performance. When you pass these tests, when you remain steady, gracious, and unshaken, you don't just protect your peace, you confirm your authority in the spiritual realm. This isn't about winning arguments, it's about mastering yourself. By the end of today's message, you'll see these tests for what they are. Opportunities for divine promotion, proof that your anointing is real, and moments where heaven itself records your victory. So settle in, chosen ones, because the way you respond could change the entire course of your spiritual journey. Point one, they test you because they see your light. Chosen ones, let's get one thing straight. People don't waste energy testing those they don't see as a threat. The moment you start walking in your spiritual authority, the moment you stop shrinking to fit in and instead stand tall in your truth, something shifts in the atmosphere. Your light grows brighter, your presence becomes heavier, and suddenly you're no longer just another person in the room. You're a walking disruption to the comfort of darkness. And here's the thing, this isn't personal, it's spiritual. Your very existence becomes a statement, and without you even trying, it challenges the shadows around you. Think about it like this. Imagine a pitch-black room where everything feels calm. People have gotten used to stumbling around in the dark, convincing themselves that the mess in the corner isn't really there. Then you walk in with a flashlight. Sure, the room is brighter, but that brightness isn't just light, it's revelation. Suddenly the dust, the cobwebs, the clutter, and the stains no one wanted to acknowledge are now plain as day. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Not everyone is ready to deal with what the light reveals. Some will clean up, others will resent you for exposing what they've worked so hard to keep hidden. This is why, as a chosen one, you'll notice people testing you, pushing you, or trying to find cracks in your armor. They're not always doing it consciously, it's a spiritual reaction. Your peace disturbs chaos. Your joy threatens misery, your self-control mocks impulsiveness, and your resilience quietly proves that the excuses they cling to aren't as unshakable as they thought. You're not just shining, you're holding up a mirror. And for some people, that's unbearable. Here's what's fascinating. Psychologists have long recognized a phenomenon called cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort people feel when confronted with evidence that contradicts their beliefs or self-image. Spiritually, your light creates this same dissonance. It forces people to either rise higher or try to pull you lower. Testing you is often their attempt to prove that your light isn't as pure as it seems. If they can make you react in anger, break your peace, or compromise your values, they feel safer because then you're just like them. But here's the part they can't stand. When you remain calm, when you stand firm, unbothered, and rooted in truth, you're proving that your power isn't performance, it's who you are. Your light is not a mood, it's your nature. And that's when the tests stop being about them finding your weakness and start becoming about them wrestling with their own. So, chosen one, understand this. The pressure, the suspicion, and the silent hostility you feel at times are confirmation, not condemnation. It means your presence is working. You are the flashlight in the room. You are the living proof that peace is possible, joy is attainable, and resilience is real. Don't dim that for anyone, because while some will resent your shine, others are desperately looking for it to find their own way out of the dark. Your role isn't to make everyone comfortable. Your role is to be exactly who God made you to be, even if that means exposing what others would rather keep hidden. And the more you grow in your light, the more you'll see. Those tests aren't meant to break you. They're proof you've already passed. Point 2, your calmness is their confusion. Have you ever noticed that when someone is desperately trying to provoke you, they expect you to match their energy? They come swinging with words, throwing shade, maybe even baiting you into an argument. And when you don't bite, when you remain perfectly composed, their frustration actually multiplies. It's almost comical. You're sitting there in your own lane, mentally tending to your spiritual Zen garden, while they're running out of breath trying to get you to step into their storm. That's because calmness, true, grounded, unshakable calmness, isn't in most people's playbook. It's an unfamiliar battlefield for them, and unfamiliarity breeds discomfort. When you refuse to play their game, you've already won without even moving a single piece. See, the human brain thrives on patterns. Psychologists call it predictive coding. Your brain is constantly guessing what will happen next based on past experiences. So when someone tries to provoke you, they're banking on a predictable reaction. Anger for anger, insult for insult, fire for fire. But when you meet their heat with stillness, it short-circuits their mental script. They don't know what move to make next because you've removed the emotional payoff they were seeking. This is why your calmness feels so threatening. It's not weakness. It's an unsettling kind of strength they can't manipulate. For the chosen one, this isn't just about keeping your cool. It's about spiritual warfare at a subtle level. You're not just refusing to react. You're protecting your energy from being siphoned. Energy vampires, yes, that's a real psychological and spiritual term, thrive on emotional exchanges. They want you flustered because it gives them a sense of control. But when you stay calm, you deny them access to your inner power source. You essentially slam the door on their attempt to tap into your emotional current. Maya Angelou captured it perfectly. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. That decision, to not be reduced, isn't passive. It's active, intentional, and deeply empowering. You're telling the universe, my spirit isn't for sale and my peace isn't negotiable. That's what spiritual maturity looks like, not just knowing your boundaries, but enforcing them with grace. And here's the fascinating part. Your calmness doesn't just protect you, it exposes them. When someone is publicly trying to push your buttons and you remain poised, everyone watching starts to notice the imbalance. Your lack of reaction throws their overreaction into the spotlight. In that moment, without saying a word, you've shifted the narrative. You've gone from a potential victim of their attack to the quiet force that revealed their instability. Now let's be real, this isn't always easy. Staying calm when someone is pushing your limits requires discipline, self-awareness, and a deep connection to your higher self. But this is exactly why chosen ones stand out. You've been through enough storms in your life to know which battles are worth fighting. You've learned that some conflicts are just distractions dressed as urgency. And some people's drama is simply an audition for a role in your life that they will never get. So the next time someone comes at you with chaos, remember, they're fishing for your reaction because they can't generate that power on their own. Don't hand it over. Let them flail. Let them wonder why they can't get to you. Because here's the secret. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers they're not ready to hear. Your calmness is not the absence of strength. It's the presence of mastery. And when you live in that space, you stop being someone who merely survives chaos. You become the storm they can't touch. Point 3. Their actions are a spiritual probe. Chosen ones, this one cuts deeper than most realize, so lean in and really take this to heart. Every time someone tries to manipulate you, lie to you, or drag you into unnecessary drama, it's rarely just about the surface level issue. What they're really doing is sending out what I like to call a spiritual probe. It's almost like sonar in the ocean, pinging the waters to see where the vulnerabilities are. These people, whether they're aware of it or not, are testing your internal landscape. They're silently asking, is this person's faith genuine? Can I shake them? Can I make them doubt themselves? Can I pull them off their path? Think about it. Spiritual testing has been around since the dawn of humanity. In religious texts, great leaders, prophets, and warriors all faced trials that weren't about their physical strength, but their spiritual resilience. Temptation in the wilderness, betrayal from friends, ridicule from crowds. It was never just about the event. It was always about what the event revealed. In psychology, there's a concept called stress testing, where a system is pushed to its limits to see if it breaks. People do this emotionally and spiritually too. They're assessing your boundaries, your resolve, and your sense of identity. When you're spiritually awakened, you don't crumble under this probing. You recognize it for exactly what it is. You see the bait, but you don't bite. You understand that the attack isn't really about you personally, it's about the spirit within you and the light you carry. People often test what they don't understand, and they try to shake what feels too steady. Why? Because your peace, your faith, and your self-control are a mirror to their chaos. It makes them question why they don't have the same stability. Now here's the key. Your response is the answer they're seeking. When you react with anger, fear, or insecurity, you've essentially told them, yes, you can move me. But when you remain calm, grounded, and confident in your foundation, you've shown them something they can't easily forget. You're unshakable. And that's intimidating in the best way possible. It's like standing in the middle of a storm, not because you don't feel the wind, but because you know the storm can't destroy what's built on solid rock. This is why your energy is so different, chosen one. You don't just survive these spiritual probes, you teach through them. Your silence in the face of lies, your refusal to enter petty drama, your smile when someone tries to rattle you, it's all sending back a powerful, silent message. My foundation is unmovable, and whether they admit it or not, people notice. They might even respect you for it in the long run, though they'll rarely say it out loud. Remember, every test is a chance to reinforce your strength. You're not here to prove yourself to people. You're here to prove to yourself that your faith, your wisdom, and your inner peace are unshakable. The rock you stand on is not man-made. It's spiritual, eternal, and forged in the trials you've already overcome. That's why when the probes come, you don't flinch. You've already passed harder tests. You've already stood in hotter fires. So next time someone tries to pull you into chaos, take a breath. Recognize the spiritual ping, and instead of reacting, let your steady presence be the answer. Because the truth is, chosen ones, your calm isn't just a personal victory, it's a living testimony, and the world is watching. Point 4. You are being prepared for a higher calling. Chosen one. Let's be real. Life isn't tossing you challenges just to watch you sweat. Every single test you face is not some cosmic accident or random punishment, it's divine preparation, tailor-made for your growth. Think of it as boot camp for your soul, spiritual strength training for the destiny that's already etched into God's plan for you. The process is rarely comfortable, but it is always purposeful. Picture a diamond. Before it ever sparkles on a crown or rests in a ring, it starts as nothing more than a lump of carbon hidden deep underground, enduring extreme heat and crushing pressure. That environment is harsh, but without it, the diamond never forms. The same is true for a strong oak tree. It doesn't grow sturdy and towering in calm weather. It needs fierce winds, torrential rains, and unpredictable storms to force its roots deep into the earth, anchoring it so firmly that no gale can tear it down. Your life works in the same way. The storms you face are not there to destroy you, but to establish you. When people doubt you, test you, or even try to tear you down, they're unknowingly contributing to your rise. Every insult, betrayal, or challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen your character and sharpen your spirit. Think of it as resistance training for the soul, Without resistance, there's no growth. When someone pushes your buttons or provokes you, you're being handed a priceless chance to practice patience, integrity, and grace. This isn't about passing or failing in the traditional sense. It's about expanding your spiritual capacity so you can hold the weight of your calling. The trials you're enduring are evidence of the level you're being prepared to operate at. God does not place kingdom-level responsibilities into unprepared hands. Just as you wouldn't hand a loaded weapon to someone untrained, God will not entrust significant spiritual authority to someone who has not been tested and refined. Your calling is precious and world-shaping, but with great influence comes great opposition. Just as a vault is heavily guarded because of the treasure inside, your life attracts spiritual resistance precisely because of the treasure you carry. High value demands high testing. The more significant your mission, the more intense your preparation will be. Often these tests don't appear in dramatic, cinematic ways. They show up in subtle, everyday decisions. They come disguised as opportunities that test your discernment, as people who challenge your boundaries, or as moments where you must choose between short-term comfort and long-term purpose. Every time you choose peace over chaos, discipline over distraction, and faith over fear, you are signaling to the spiritual realm that you are ready for the next level. These moments accumulate. They build your inner foundation brick by brick. Heaven takes note. The spiritual ledger records your consistency, and the results manifest in ways you might not expect. Doors opening, favor flowing, and divine connections appearing at the right time. So instead of viewing your trials as roadblocks, see them as a tailor-made training ground. If you are currently weathering a storm, it's not because you're unlucky or forgotten. It's because your roots are about to grow so deep that no force in heaven or on earth can uproot you. Pressure is not your enemy, it's your sculptor. Diamonds cannot form without it, and neither can the refined version of you that your destiny requires. The weight you feel now is the weight of transformation, shaping you into someone rare, resilient, and radiant. You're not merely enduring these challenges, you're mastering them step by step, choice by choice. Each victory, no matter how small, locks in another layer of strength and maturity, securing your place in the future God has been building for you all along. What feels like breaking is actually building. What seems like delay is often divine timing, and what you may see as pressure, heaven calls preparation. Your trials are not a detour, they are the very road to your destiny. Point 5. Your boundaries are your spiritual shield. Chosen one. Hear this clearly, the tests don't end just because you've passed one. In fact, if you're walking in divine purpose, life has a way of sending a continuous stream of situations, people, and subtle energies designed to probe your defenses. They won't always show up waving red flags. Sometimes they arrive smiling, speaking kindly, and appearing helpful. But underneath, some carry distractions, emotional burdens, or spiritual chaos that, if allowed past your gates, will drain your energy, cloud your clarity, and derail your mission. And that's the heart of the matter. Your spiritual gates are not just doors, they're safeguards. If you leave them wide open, you'll constantly be extinguishing fires that were never yours to put out. These tests will persist until you make one non-negotiable decision to establish firm spiritual boundaries. And this, chosen one, is far deeper than just saying no. It's about energetically and spiritually protecting your peace so that your calling isn't compromised. When you're operating at a high spiritual frequency, you become a beacon, a lighthouse in a storm. Light, by its very nature, attracts attention. It draws in the lost, the broken, the seekers, but also the opportunists, manipulators, and energy leeches. History, scripture, and psychology all tell us that those who shine brightly often carry the dual burden of inspiration and exploitation. In Proverbs 4:23, it says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." This is why those with a high spiritual rank never allow just anyone unrestricted access to their inner world. Think of your life like a royal palace. The throne room, the most sacred and powerful space, isn't open to the public. It's protected by guards, gates, and layers of discernment. In the spiritual realm, your discernment is that gatekeeper. Discernment is not about paranoia, it's spiritual intelligence. It's the art of reading what's not being said, sensing the energy beneath the smile, and understanding the intent behind the words. In warfare, intelligence gathering is the key to victory, and spiritual warfare is no different. The enemy rarely shows up looking like the enemy. They come dressed as opportunity, romance, friendship, or even mentorship. That's why your boundaries must be consistent and unshakable. They should not only be declared, but also felt in the way you carry yourself. Your energy should communicate, I am not easily accessed, and I do not entertain what disrupts my peace. Boundaries, contrary to popular opinion, are not acts of cruelty. They're acts of sacred self-preservation. Psychologists confirm that boundaries are essential for emotional stability, but for the spiritually called, they're critical for survival. Without them, you are like an unfortified city, exposed to every invading force. In the ancient world, a city without walls was considered vulnerable and incomplete. For the chosen, whose life mission often involves guiding, healing, and interceding for others, being spiritually unguarded is simply not an option. Your assignment carries too much weight to allow unnecessary battles to drain your focus. So when you say, I love you, but your chaos cannot enter my peace, understand that you are not rejecting the person. You are rejecting the destructive energy they're bringing. It's an act of love from a distance, preserving both your well-being and your mission. And yes, some will misunderstand. Those who benefited from your lack of boundaries will label you cold, selfish, or detached. But remember, that's their revelation, not your condemnation. The profound truth about strong spiritual boundaries is that they train the world how to treat you. Those who truly value you will respect your limits, while those with ulterior motives will either fall away or reveal their true nature. Both outcomes work in your favor. Over time, your boundaries refine your circle, leaving you surrounded only by those who uplift and support your calling. Chosen one, your peace is more than comfort, it's a weapon. In a chaotic, manipulative world, peace makes you untouchable. The calmer and more grounded you are, the harder you are to control. That's why the enemy's strategies often begin with trying to disturb your peace, to distract you into battles you were never meant to fight. But once you've built and fortified your spiritual walls, these attacks lose their power. The same situations that once shook you now become opportunities to display your growth. This shift in posture changes everything. You begin to walk with a quiet authority that commands respect without a single word. Not everyone deserves access to you. You are not just a person, you are a vessel, a royal ambassador of divine purpose. And like any rare treasure, your value increases when it is protected. So guard your gates, chosen one, with wisdom and love. Because in guarding your peace, you're not just protecting yourself, you're preserving the very mission you were sent here to fulfill. And that mission, once accomplished, will make every test, every boundary, and every moment of discernment worth it. Point 6, forgiveness is the ultimate power move. Chosen one, let's be real. Nothing stretches your spiritual maturity like facing someone who tried to manipulate you, test you, or push your buttons just to see you snap. Maybe they lied about you, provoked you in public, or intentionally crossed boundaries to gauge your reaction. But here's the thing, you didn't break. You stayed calm, you stood firm in your values, you kept your dignity when it would have been easier to explode. That's a major victory. But after the smoke clears, the question hangs in the air. What's the next move? Do you return the cold shoulder they gave you? Do you secretly root for karma to give them an express package of consequences? Or maybe in your most human moments, do you start plotting some clever revenge like you're in a slow burn Netflix drama? Tempting, right? But that's exactly the spiritual trap you can't afford to fall into. Because the moment you step into that low vibrational energy, you've already lost part of the ground you worked so hard to gain. It's like finally climbing out of a pit only to willingly jump right back in because someone waved from the bottom. Here's a hard truth backed by both wisdom and science. Resentment doesn't hurt the offender, it eats away at you. Holding on to bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to collapse. Studies from reputable institutions like Johns Hopkins Medicine have found that harboring anger increases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, weakens your immune system, disrupts your sleep, and can even shorten your lifespan. Over time, it chips away at your mental clarity and emotional stability. On the flip side, the act of forgiveness, real intentional forgiveness, isn't just a spiritual virtue, it's a health boost. Research shows it can lower anxiety, reduce blood pressure, improve heart health, and elevate your overall mood. Forgiveness literally rewires the brain, reducing activity in the amygdala, the part responsible for fear and anger. and strengthening areas linked to empathy and problem solving. So when I tell you forgiveness is power, I'm not talking about a soft, naive, let's just all get along gesture. I'm talking about a move that strengthens your mind, body, and spirit. But let's dismantle the biggest myth right here. Forgiving someone doesn't mean approving of what they did, erasing the memory, or granting them a backstage pass into your life again. This isn't about inviting a repeat performance. Forgiveness is you looking the offense square in the face and saying, I see exactly what happened, I understand what it revealed about you, and I refuse to let it keep me chained to this moment. Think of it as cutting an energetic cord. A cord that, if left intact, allows that person to keep siphoning off your peace and influencing your emotions even in their absence. Without that cut, they still have a seat at your table, even if they're not physically there. The higher your spiritual rank, the less time and energy you can waste feeding grudges. You have missions to fulfill, blessings to receive, and divine opportunities to walk into. The enemy, whether working through people or circumstances, knows that distraction is more effective than destruction. If they can't take you out, they'll try to slow you down by keeping your spirit tangled in past offenses. That's why those who test you are often baffled when you don't give them the fight they were expecting. They wanted rage, chaos, and bitterness. Instead, you hand them silence and peace. And nothing unsettles someone operating in low energy more than realizing they have no control over your emotions. Forgiveness for a chosen one is like closing an app on your phone that's been draining the battery in the background. You're not pretending it wasn't running, you're simply refusing to let it keep stealing your energy. It's the quiet decision to reclaim your power and redirect it toward things that actually matter. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. You deserve to walk lighter, love deeper, and move through your divine calling without being weighed down by invisible chains. So the next time someone tests you and you pass, not by striking back, but by standing firm, remember that your ultimate victory isn't measured in how sharply you cut them off. It's in how cleanly you let them go. Anyone can burn a bridge out of anger. It takes real strength to walk away with your peace intact. Let them keep the drama. You keep the crown. And when you step forward with an unshaken spirit, you're not just passing the test, you're graduating to a level they can't even approach. That's the real power of a chosen one, not the ability to fight every battle, but the wisdom to know which ones aren't worth your sword. Point 7, they will eventually acknowledge your rank. Chosen ones, here's where the story gets powerful and honestly a little poetic. When you consistently respond to life's tests with grace, peace, and spiritual authority, you're doing more than just keeping your cool. You're showing the universe and everyone around you exactly who you are without ever lifting a finger to prove it. This is not about faking calm or pretending to be strong. This is about operating from a place of such deep spiritual alignment that no one's games, provocations, or traps can shake you. Over time, something remarkable happens. The same people who once tried to poke at you, provoke you, or measure your worth will have no choice but to acknowledge your spiritual rank. Now here's the beautiful irony. Most of them will never say it out loud. Pride won't let them. But watch closely. You'll see it in their eyes when you walk into the room. You'll notice it in the sudden pauses in their speech, in how their tone changes around you, and in that strange mix of curiosity and caution they now carry. Some will give you more space than before, not because they dislike you, but because they've realized they're standing in the presence of someone operating on a higher frequency. That's not intimidation, that's respect wrapped in quiet acknowledgement. Why does this happen? Because spiritual authority isn't earned through arguments, debates, or showing off knowledge. It's built through consistent self-mastery. In psychology, there's a phenomenon called behavioral conditioning. People learn how to interact with you based on how you repeatedly respond. If every time someone tries to get a reaction from you and they're met with calm, peace, and grounded energy, they eventually realize that chaos can't live here. They see you as unshakable. And in a world full of emotionally reactive people, that's a rare and powerful trait. Spiritually speaking, this is what's called walking in your anointing. Your authority doesn't come from titles, followers, or accolades. It comes from the fact that you know who you are in God, and you don't need anyone's approval to validate it. This is why your presence alone carries weight. People feel it before you even speak. Light is silent, yet it can fill an entire room without asking permission. That's you, a divine being in full purpose, radiating without forcing. And here's the part that makes your journey so profound. They were lucky to witness it. Whether they admit it or not, their encounter with you left a mark. Maybe it inspired them, maybe it unsettled them, but either way, it changed the way they see strength, peace, and power. And that's because your spiritual rank isn't declared with words, it's confirmed through your peace, proven through your presence, and cemented by your unwavering light. You don't just talk about being chosen, you embody it. And that chosen one is why no test against you can truly win. You were never here to pass their exams. You were here to remind them what divine authority looks like in human form. Chosen ones, the next time someone tries to push your buttons, smile, not out of arrogance, but out of understanding. You see, spiritually awakened people operate on a different frequency, and those still trapped in fear, jealousy, or insecurity often can't handle that vibration. What feels like an attack is often a test of your emotional and spiritual maturity. Even the Bible reminds us in James 1:2-3 to consider it pure joy when facing trials, because these moments build perseverance and strengthen your faith. When you smile instead of reacting, you're showing that you have authority over your emotions, not the other way around. Your spiritual rank, earned through battles, prayers, and endurance, is not something to hide. It's a divine light meant to illuminate dark places. And here's the truth. Light naturally exposes what hides in darkness, and not everyone will be comfortable with that. Some will resist it, others will be drawn to it, but all will notice it. The world has always reacted to light, whether it was Moses' radiant face after meeting with God, or the way Jesus' presence stirred hearts and disrupted false comfort zones. So hold your ground. Stay awakened, stay blessed, and guard the flame God has placed inside of you as if your life depends on it. Because in a way, it does. If this message speaks to your spirit, show some love, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until we meet again, keep shining in the brilliance God created you to carry.